If Ubisoft has victimized anyone, it's Assassin's Creed. I guess also their customers. Oh, right, and those employees. Assassin's Creed is the poster child for an innovative and high-quality franchise that had all of its edges sanded off in the name of mass appeal. First with the addition of automation and parkour and simplifying of combat, to the removal of catch ledge, to the removal of the fucking jump button, to colored loot, to paid XP boost, to day one cosmetic DLC and Iron Man suits. The last two games have been a narrow improvement, but a wise captain once told me that it's not hard to improve on garbage. I hid the ball there a bit. The sanding didn't start with Assassin's Creed 3. It actually started with 2. You see, the first Assassin's Creed has a reputation. Sure, it's good for the time. The word you'll hear over and over is repetitive.
However, it was criticized for the easy one-button combat and the repetitive gameplay.
The combat is basic, the side missions are repetitive.
Assassin's Creed was criticized for its repetitive structure.
It does get a little bit repetitive.
And while I know where this comes from, I don't think it stands up that well. When I play Zelda, I talk to people who lead me to a dungeon where I do puzzles and fight a boss. Then I go to another place where I talk to NPCs who lead me to a dungeon where I fight another boss. A better comparison. When I play Hitman, I load into a level, learn where my target is and what ways I can kill them, then I kill them and try to get out of it. If you truly break down Assassin's Creed's repetition, it will end up being a gameplay loop. Loops repeat. You gather information through a variety of activities, choosing what you want to do and gaining more intel the more you go. Once you have enough, you bring it to the Bureau, then assassinate a target. As this goes on, you're drip-fed information about the broader conspiracy at hand and the philosophy underpinning it. As you go, Altair receives the information with you and undergoes a character arc.
I do not accept your apology. I do not accept your apology because you are not the same man who went with me into Solomon's temple.
But they aren't playing the same game I am, and it's not their fault. Assassin's Creed, even at the very beginning, bent the knee to the mass appeal sword. Pointless collectible flags, a quasi-open world with a completely superfluous kingdom, and most damning of all, a massive fuck-off health bar that only gets bigger as you play, until death is nothing but a happy memory as you repeatedly spam counterattacks since you never bothered learning the game's combat. Assassin's Creed is a one-monitor kind of game. It doesn't let you skip cutscenes because the shit you learn is important. You can immediately tell someone didn't understand Assassin's Creed if they refer to the investigations as side missions. No, motherfucker, this is the mission. You're an assassin. Not in the Hidden Blade, Secret Freedom War, Haystack, Eagle Vision, Parkour, Shing way. In the my occupation is finding people and killing them way. And I truly get it. This is the normal opinion. Most people who play this game aren't using the memory log, cross-referencing maps to figure out where their target is. Because this game is piss easy. You can follow a route you found out about from an unarmed man you killed in an alley, surgically striking your target, following the escape route an informant gave you, or you can walk in the front door. Because who's gonna stop you? Introducing the Assassin's Rebalance series of mods. In an attempt to get the low sync mod to work with the Assassin's Creed Definitive Parkour mod, I learned how to tweak forge files with AC Viewer. And let's just say, he who increaseth knowledge increaseth sorrow. Because I've had some late fucking nights in the last month. Regardless, AC1 was actually the easiest mod to make. Because this game is really tight, and its biggest sin after its lack of tutorials, which the community is made up for, is its giant inflated health pool. Altair is meant to be a blade in the crowd. The presence of alert guards on the streets is meant to push you to the rooftops. You aren't supposed to be fighting everyone, and now you have a reason to avoid it. Altair will die after a few hits, and you won't get more health from viewpoints, saving citizens, or progressing the story. See how this is too many ways to get health?
Okay, that's good. That's good. It's enough slices!
If you're a veteran player, I recommend combining this with the parkour mod and Drifter's goated tutorial to help master it. That goes for the following games as well. The added control over parkour isn't just useful for stylishly moving around. The stealth gameplay and especially escapes are enhanced by an increased ability to quickly and fluidly run away. Speaking of other games, in an attempt to avoid punishing casual players and reach an even broader audience, successfully I must admit, Assassin's Creed 2 has an obscenely generous health system that completely obliterates any sense of balance in favor of rewarding armor upgrades with even more massive amounts of health, until the time it takes to be killed when you aren't defending yourself can match the time it takes to do a fight in a different game. As such, Ezio's base health has been lowered to a single block, allowing for a few hits before death while leaving room for armor to make meaningful additions to health, as well as encouraging avoiding combat, pushing the player toward evasion and stealth while rewarding an assassin that knows what he's doing. Even with previous changes, mistakes are too easy to come back from, and making them doesn't push a skilled assassin to avoid a fight. Now, every mistake will cost you in one way or another. Health doesn't regenerate, and prices for medicine and healing are increased. This is one of the more noticeable changes, and while I didn't die too much even with the modified health, it was nice to know that taking hits had consequences. And there were some doctor visits that leveled my bank account. In addition, the prices for armor have been scaled aggressively, and have been flattened per tier to make each of those health squares extremely valuable and noticeable. Every set of armor, when fully bought, provides you one extra health block over the previous tier. You can mix and match, but I haven't really bothered with the math, so I don't know exactly how it works out. For late game armor, it's intended that you invest in the villa to afford it, and if you rush the story, you probably won't. Altair's armor is equivalent to the top tier, but without breaking. I thought about nerfing it, but I just couldn't bring myself to do it. I don't get it until the end game personally, so the high level armor mostly serves as a money drain and deflects. Florins come easy to Ezio, and it's time he had a sink for all those sources. Unfortunately, I wasn't able to remove the health added by codex pages, so if anyone knows how, let me know. But you're only forced to get one health block until the very end of the game, and I don't mind Ezio getting a nice bump after the DLC time skip. So just neglect your friend Leo and you should be fine. Carrying on the topic of economy, there's also been changes to most tools, their prices, and their upgrades. Medicine isn't just more expensive, it only heals 1 square per use, and while I wanted to cut it down to 2 or 3 for you to carry, the game soft locks you if you can't buy 5 medicine in Monteriggioni. So make sure you bring some money or meds with you to the villa in sequence 3, or you're gonna have to do laps around the place stealing from the villagers to buy drugs. Ask me how I know that one. Interestingly, as health and capacity increase and damage becomes more prevalent, the cost of healing actually scales pretty nicely with the payouts from the missions in Venice, which was the part of the playthrough where I really started liking this mod. Back to tools though. All pouch upgrades have had a bump in price, and smoke bombs are reduced in quantity and are slightly more expensive. I didn't make any changes to the pistol or poison since I think they're both pretty situational, and it could be a coincidence, but I found myself using them a lot more in this playthrough than I normally do. The stealth section of the AC2 mod is pretty short, but the changes have had great results in my opinion. Detection time has been cut in half. I know that sounds really harsh, but once you're playing it, you'll realize how insanely generous this game was to begin with. In addition to that, it removed the feather requirement from the auditory cape. This means that if you so desire, you can play the whole game as Notorious. That was my first fix, and I've since included an optional download that fills up your notoriety every 3 minutes if you want to keep the mechanics intact. Because combat's expensive and people are trying to detect you, I was blending in between missions just to get to them. And actually having social stealth be part of the overworld was such a nice change. But now, there's some obvious questions. Why all this effort on the economy, but nothing for combat? Sure, smaller health makes it harder, but it's still a pretty easy game. Well, that's because I couldn't figure out how to do the things I wanted to. I wanted a shorter counter window, I wanted less passive enemies, but I couldn't find the tools for it. Then I opened up the files for Brotherhood, and within the gameplay settings file, there was a link to another file. The link was labeled New Fight Settings. And for Brotherhood, I fucking cooked. First things first, enemies don't wait around so long, and I removed the system that tells you when they're going to attack. Already, the fight isn't as controlled by you as it used to be, but we've got a problem. Vanilla Brotherhood's combat took a system that was too easy and gave you the melee combat equivalent of a machine gun. Hitting an enemy twice with any sword opens them up to a finisher, making health and damage pretty worthless. But that pales in comparison to what comes next. Point at another enemy, and Ezio kills them automatically. And this just keeps going. For the most part, the only thing that interrupts this is an enemy grabbing you or an enemy attacking you, which allows you to counter, instantly killing them as well. They took combat that was too slow and defensive and fixed it by making you into a killing machine. Stealth has never been more optional in Assassin's Creed, and your biggest arsenal yet is just icing on the pile of bodies that is the chain kill. So I turned it off. Then I thought, while I'm turning stuff off, do we really need counters? A little tweak to enable more aggressive enemies, and this is the first time I've been on the back foot in this series without bullshit RPG health bars since Unity. I went after a Borgia tower, died twice, then on the 3rd try got chased down and shot dead in the street. It took 4 attempts to capture a Borgia tower. I ran away to survive in Assassin's Creed Brotherhood. Holy shit. The more important part is what this encourages. When I finished my targeted assassination on this guard captain, it was because I played it like an assassin. I blend assassinated a brute, giving me time to hit a second assassinate on this helmeted guard. And the final militia guard didn't stand a chance. I snuck up the back and waited for the captain's patrol to lead him to me, and I took my shot. This assassination had more depth than many in the main story. And that's the first 2 hours. But this combat doesn't just beat you into the ground. Don't get me wrong, it does do that. But there's tons of advanced tricks that a select few have known about for years, but most have never bothered to learn. Let me introduce to you Execution Producer. This is the premier channel for esoteric AC combat information. So, groundwork. In an attempt to make weapon damage more meaningful, I doubled the combo length for most weapons. In vanilla, you hit the enemy a set number of times, and then for a second afterward, follow-up hits will kill them. Keep in mind, the vanilla number for swords was 2, as in hit, hit, finish. Did I mention this game is really easy? So with that removed, you have a limited window to try to get a bunch of hits in. It's not very practical. This is where Execution Producer comes in. Check out the guides, I'll have them linked, but TLDR, if you hit an enemy during their combo with the right timing, finisher. If you taunt, then immediately follow up, finisher. Found this one by myself. If you hit, then kick, then hit, finisher. This game has fucking Halo 2 BXR button combos. Not the button mashing that this game calls combos, but genuine button combinations that are useful in different situations. And it's not just spamming them. With the kick juggling specifically, you have to wait for the hit to connect for it to work, which means the weapon's speed stat actually affects the timing for the inputs. Then the increased aggression gets added in and the game is completely different. I noticed myself around sequence 5 fighting a few regular guards, intentionally not finishing my combinations so I could leave them with permanent health damage. Instead of starting a finisher I knew was going to get interrupted. You don't just win because you start one. Enemies can interrupt them, so you have to intentionally trigger them when you have time to finish them. Or you have to dodge out and try again. Or if you're desperate, you can just tank the hit in exchange for their life. Again though, not recommended considering the health changes carried over from AC2. It's really worth emphasizing the speed increase here. You get pushed hard, and while it's definitely reasonable to fight medium-sized groups, it also wasn't unheard of for me to make a stupid mistake and die to a random patrol of like 4 guys. I'll admit, there are some forced combat sections that have to be cheesed to some degree. The Romulus guys pretty much have to be beaten by poking, and I had to do some World at War zombies kiting to kill Cesare. But I did kill Cesare. This game is beatable with this system, and the 3 or 4 sections that are made really hard by it are a completely fair trade in exchange for turning this game into a game where you use stealth and planning to win. And running away and blending with the crowd is a frequent and important part of the gameplay loop. These games have a move where you run away by holding the dodge input in combat. And now, not only do I actually use it, I intentionally wait for gaps in their offense to use it. But they won't be attacking you without notoriety. Good news and bad news. The auditory cape has the opposite effect now, so you can't just toggle it on and off yourself like before. Good news, it doesn't mess up the soundtrack like in AC2, so you can just nut up and start blending. In the files, I found an unused timer that clears notoriety after a set length. So I set it to clear your notoriety every 3 minutes. How much notoriety? Negative 100% of it. Since it's getting rid of a negative, it adds a positive. And that actually worked. This means that the level where you need to get rid of notoriety is still doable, and you can get rid of it in the open world. But it's generally not worth the hassle to manage, and you'll just want to keep a low profile instead. Combining this with the combat changes, the oppression of Rome is felt in the gameplay just as much as the story, and freeing it feels better than ever. If you know this game, you knew this was coming. Let's talk about the recruits. The recruits have a lot of issues, but we've actually solved a decent amount already. In vanilla, every use of one of your 3 tokens spawns 2 assassins who generally get 2 free hidden blade kills each. Afterwards, they have a large and ever-growing health bar that they use to bully the Borgia into submission before bowing at you and running away. Okay, none of that. Health is the same as yours, just with more upgrades. If you send them into a fight and those 2 free kills get spent, those fuckers will die immediately. Aiding in that, only 1 guy spawns at a time, and you only get 1 token at a time. The AI v AI combat part of the system is clunky and pushes you away from considered use. I slightly reduced the cooldown so you won't be totally deprived, but you won't spawn in armies like before. Now a recruit's use has to be deliberate and cautious. Especially early on, I called them in when a fight was going wrong out of panic and all that did was lead to them dying. Did you know that Ezio can close the eyes of his assassins after they die? I didn't, because they never used to do that. Doubling down on this decision, I halved the size of the Assassins Guild, which means assassins are more rare and valuable, especially the more they gain experience. The smarter you use them, the less risky you are with them, the better they get in Rome and abroad. And they have lots of use there too. I would have thought the contract missions you send them on would need a rework, but I was totally wrong. Now that the numbers are limited and you lose them more often, each has a more pronounced valuable impact. And since they scale with experience, the more time you have, the more experience they get and the more money you can make. And with the economy changes, this doesn't break the game. It correctly rewards your efforts, because you genuinely need that money if you want access to some of the high tier upgrades. The crossbow is set to 50,000 florins and it's not going to buy itself. Oh, and those free post-detection hidden blade kills they get? I couldn't figure out how to get rid of theirs, but I could figure out how to get rid of yours. I kept it long enough that if the enemy you're trying to stab instantly detects you, you can still get one off. But gone are the days of killing an entire patrol by double assassinating twice while no one responds. The original window for this was 4 fucking seconds, by the way. 4 seconds after detection, you could still hidden blade. What the hell, man? And like with AC2, I have the detection time. Another set of guides you'll want in your head is Kinography's Ezio Trilogy stealth guides. There's lots of good stuff in here. Blend assassinations aren't detected until the body drops. Poisoning a guy and then punching him knocks him out. You can perform high profile assassinations from a ledge. Charging throwing knives makes them a one-shot kill. Fast poison makes it less useful, and you can use it to disable a guard's detection AI. Oh, and Brotherhood added throwing to smoke bombs. All these guides were interesting to me before, but now they're not just useful, they're important, since the game is pushing back in the other direction, and they provide the leverage to help you succeed. Feeding into most of these systems is a change I made that made a huge difference in Immersion. I wanted a way to remove the map while still leaving mission objectives intact. I wasn't able to get rid of the fog, but I was able to get rid of icons. What this means is that things in the world you can reasonably find with your senses, you will. Shops make sounds once renovated, and as you play, you'll get familiar with locations of different shops. And you might find yourself returning to certain hubs to get access to those shops. Assassin recruit rescues aren't a thing you schedule an appointment for anymore. Now it's an actual person in danger that you stumble across, instead of being a resource you farm by heading to a marker. This also works to make the recruits even more valuable. Speaking of recruits, there are pigeon coops all over with a clear shape on rooftops. And Borgia towers can be seen from just about anywhere. Manually looking for these things changes the character of exploration on a very human level, and it gave me feelings I've only had playing the first game without HUD. Along the same lines, I removed enemy icons from the map. I recommend bumping up your camera sensitivity since now you'll actually have to look around instead of just staring at your radar. In addition to all those changes, I tightened carry capacity a bit more over AC2 since there's so many different tools you can get. Fortunately, most upgrades are money gated in Brotherhood, meaning you get to make meaningful choices about what tools you want. Poison dart or smoke bomb, double blade or faster sword, a whole extra health block or the crossbow. Trust me, even at the cost of 20,000 florins to hold a single smoke bomb, you're gonna want it. On the topic of wanting the smoke bomb, I need to talk about the story's 4 major filters. And I want to talk about how I beat them, since I can see them being frustrated for people playing the mod. First off, we already discussed the Romulus fight. For whatever reason, when you skip the cutscene here, it puts you in danger when you spawn. And with the AI changes, that means they get a free hit on you. If you let the cutscene play, you'll be able to get to cover. The same goes for the mission with the bandits attacking the madam. If you let the cutscene play, you'll end up on the bridge here, but if you skip it, you'll end up on the boat and get ganked off spawn. I'd recommend stocking up on smoke bombs for the Bartolomeo gate closing mission, and for the fight with Cesare. The trick with Cesare is to deal as much damage to him as possible. Use your gun, throw knives at his backup, disable them with bombs, whatever. Just hit him as much as you can, as fast as you can. In missions where you aren't forced to fight, however, the changes to combat reinforce the assassin fantasy and encourage striking hard from the shadows and disappearing in order to strike again. I will never play this game without this mod ever again. So, what's next? I was gonna include Revelations since I figured it'd mostly be a rehash of Brotherhood's mod, but it turns out Revelations is kind of peak, so I've had to attack the combat differently, and multiple headaches have led me to learn how to skip missions, so it'll have to be its own thing. I'm also looking forward to the Kenway games, especially making a hardcore pirate game out of AC4. For now though, the mods are out, the same day as this video's release, and I hope you enjoy them. Let me take a moment to thank my Patreon and channel members. Patrons and channel members get early sponsor-free access to my videos as well as custom roles in the Discord, and access to my Google Drive so you can see the videos I make and don't make. Thank you to Keiko Weeb, Amanda Lick, Sapast, Cookie, Sark Malark, Submarine Guy, Mariano Rebufo, Hayden, Robert Lucas, Dazed Canadian, and Sea Trouble. If it weren't for the support on this channel, I would never have had the time to spend making this. And I'm glad to be able to give back to the Assassin's Creed community considering how much they've given to me. I genuinely appreciate you all, and as always, subscribe to my fucking YouTube channel. Oh, and 50K? That's fucking crazy!